Hello and welcome back to Goalie Interference. Mike has got his puck drop coffee, not in the puck drop mug though. Why not in the puck drop mug? What's going on?
Well, that's a very fair question. I was worried about the puck drop mug being able to withstand the microwave, to be honest with you. So
That's
I
fair.
did a little bit
It
of.
does. I've done it. It makes it. I've
Well,
done it.
then next time I know that we will support our friends at Puck Drop Coffee, and it is a good
They're
roast though. I
fantastic.
have the Salute roast going right now with a little bit of creamer. This is dessert coffee for me right now. So
You know who else is fantastic, Mike?
who's that?
The Jimerson Law Firm, who presents every episode of Goalie Interference and has done this for years now. It's fantastic. We love the Jimerson Law Firm. I'm going to do a whole read later.
Yeah, Jimerson of the.
You know who
Jimerson
else
Law
is
Firm.
good?
Amazing. Golden Knights are
Else is good.
And you may not.
Golden Knights. That's who I was going to say.
Yeah.
That's exactly he's thinking it. Here's the thing, though. I'm angry. The Golden Knights are good.
Oh.
I know they're good. And I'm angry. And it's not I'm angry at them. I'm angry at the world in relation to how the Golden Knights are playing. When they play well, they lose. When they play terribly, they win. And it's pissing me off because what am I supposed to do? I'm out here trying to analyze, be an analyst, and it's all backwards. Explain to me, how can they play great against Nashville and lose, and play like crap against Minnesota and win, and play great against Minnesota the game before and win? I don't get it.
I don't either, except for the fact that this is a zombie team. And by a zombie team means that they can come back from the dead at any moment. Now, I was going through some stats today because I was doing a segment on Daily Faceoff Live about the Calgary Flames and just how piss poor that team is when they get down a goal. They're atrocious when they get down a goal. And I haven't checked the score of tonight's game because I was getting ready to go here and get my coffee going. But guess who didn't score the first goal of the game? The Calgary Flames. They are up 2-1. That would break. Yeah. And that would break a tradition for them at this point of just losing. Like that team it was something like 4-24-1 when they don't score first. Now Vegas is tremendous when they score first, but the big number that really caught up to me was just how many times Vegas has come from behind. They've come from behind an awful lot compared to some teams in the NHL. They really have.
Especially in the third period.
Yeah, and to me, listen, it's something that I really don't know that you can quantify. And this is, even with my current job now, when I write pieces talking about who I think is going to win, I don't just go on stats. It's got to be on gut feel a little bit. And I just had a piece that I think the Dallas Stars are going to come out of the West. I'm sure it'll make everybody happy to hear that Pete DeBoer's team is going to be the one. But I just have a gut feeling that's not as related to DeBoer about that team as the players. Here's where that plays into what I'm trying to get at. This Golden Knights team has something going on that's kind of special in some way. Something's going on in that locker room that they just know that they can win. And I think that they're given the license to believe that by the structure that Cassidy puts in place, that even though when they don't play their best, they're still not as bad as some of these other teams I watch a lot, man. Their putrid periods for the Golden Knights don't involve 5 odd man rushes the other direction. Like I just saw Calgary and Winnipeg give up going back and forth. And that's why those are mid to low pack teams versus the Golden Knights. So I think it's a combo. I think Cassidy has given them a system that they can believe. I think that it typically allows them to be in the game. I think right now, they believe because they're having fun with each other. They can understand this again. And I think that it's taken a little while for this team to kind of come back to being a team after a lot of mayhem the last couple of years. This is a core that's going to be there for a bit, largely. Look at the contracts, right? There's no really UFAs to look at here, except for people that we may talk about in a little bit that have been brought in recently. Yeah, so I think that's all a real factor. And what really impresses me about it is that they've done it without their captain in the lineup. They've done it without Mark Stone. And what that does for me is it leads me to point to one player on the Golden Knights that I think has been absolutely critical. And it was a player that I didn't think that they needed. I didn't think they had to make that trade, but I think Alex Pietrangelo has been the key piece for this team. Period. End of story. Even when he went and made that brutal pass the other night for the giveaway that ended up in the back of the net, guess what happened? What did he do the next game? Turned it right around, played awesome.
2 goals.
Right?
Yep.
Yes. So I guess that's my assessment of it. The advanced numbers are okay to not
Bad.
great, right? Like, well, I don't think they're terrible, right? But I think that they're not in the realm of a team that's leading the entire Western Conference here, Ken.
Right.
You
Right.
know what I mean?
It's
Like,
definitely not that. Yeah.
no, it does not jive at all. And I think that, kind of bottom line when you get around to it is that nobody's picking the Golden Knights out of the West, and media amongst teams. Like, I don't think they're getting much respect. And honestly, after everything that the Golden Knights have kind of been through the last couple of years, wading through the water, being favorites, having all the expectations, I think they like that. Like, I think that there is a bit, at least from the outside perception, of a bit of maybe not an underdog, but it's not the same high pressure. The pressure I think they get is from Cassidy. I think Cassidy pushes these guys, man. Like,
Yep.
he was not happy this week, and they still won like 3 games, So
I don't blame him.
he's a relentless guy, and I think that type of coaching it has at least this team. It has worked for this club, what he brings, I think. But man, I can't wait for playoffs because I don't think there's really any telling what this team's going to do, Ken. I don't know if you have any feel for it. I really don't either. It's just very hard to predict. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tricky because when you look at the matchups that are potentially going to happen here, and whatever happens in that Calgary-Winnipeg game, it's probably going to be Calgary-Winnipeg. I guess it could potentially be Nashville. It's probably one of the other of Calgary or Winnipeg. I guess it is possible if they only get 3 points over the next 4 games. I guess it's possible Edmonton could win 3. Maybe the Kings get their 4 wins here, and maybe they find a way. But I think it's more than likely they're going to win the West, and they're going to play one of these teams that really doesn't even belong in the playoffs. Like when you lose to Chicago all of the games of your season that the Flames have done, you should not be in the playoffs. When you struggle as much as they have, Dallas struggles as much as Winnipeg struggles as much as they have defensively. You're talking about that weight of expectation not being there. I don't think that's necessarily true in round 1. I think once the bracket comes out, people are going to pick the Golden Knights more. And I think you're going to start seeing people getting on that bandwagon because when brackets come out, people like 1. That's their favorite thing. They like 1 seeds. It happens in college basketball. It happens in football. It happens in hockey. It happens across the board. If they're the 1 seed, they're going to have what's viewed as a layup in that first round. And that's the round that I think is really going to be tricky. And I will always take the easier round, no question about it. Give me Winnipeg or Calgary or Nashville instead of LA or Edmonton. But that round cannot be viewed as a slam dunk by the team. It should not be viewed as a slam dunk by the fan base. We will not view it as a slam dunk because there will be potential pitfalls that these advanced statistics kind of point to. That being said, they should win that series. They should find a way to win that series. And the key is going to be, I think they need to start doing more of what they did last night. Start controlling the puck more, start controlling the game more against these teams that aren't quite as good as you. And the results will take care of themselves. I don't think they can continue going down the road that they have been, because if they play Calgary, who's a very good advanced analytic team, they're going to get outscored on the expected goals pretty badly. That may not result in a 7-game stretch. I think they need to do more of what they did last night, and definitely what they did against Minnesota two games ago, or 3 games ago, the one they won. And I think they can do that. I just think they have to get in the mindset of like, we need to control the puck more. We need to control the game more, as opposed to saying we need 60 minutes of success the entire way. It's not going to happen. Take your 40, take your 38 and play it that way, and you'll get what you got last night, which is a game that could have gone the other way, and they should have won that game last night, I think.
Yeah. Well, I think last night to me was realistically probably a 3-1 game. Should have been.
Yeah, should have been.
Yeah. And I'm not heaping that on quick here, okay, before anybody jumps to conclusions. Like I didn't like the second goal against, okay, like he went paddle down for no reason and it kicks over and it goes up and over and he can't rotate and push and get there. So I mean,
and by the way, he's nowhere to be found on the one that gets kicked in. That should have been a goal.
Oh yeah,
that was because he kicked it in. It should have been a goal because normally hockey players are good enough to use their sticks.
Oh, stop it, Ken. Normally, hockey players are good enough to use their stick. Mark Stone kicks in 10 a year. He just is very good at kicking
No.
pucks in without kicking
What I'm
pucks in.
saying is,
So
they had that puck wide open on the back door. Dude fumbled it twice, then fired it back in front to a guy who should have used his stick, decided to kick the puck to his stick, and then missed after he did that. Typically, that's a goal. And the goalie is, I don't even think he's in the frame.
He was moving forward, which happens a lot.
Right, he's gone.
And this is going to be the first episode of Goalie Interference where we don't even need to talk about goaltending. Laurent Brossoit right now.
It's Brossoit's job. Yes.
Yeah, it is. He played 3 in a row. It's the eye test, everything else. We don't even need to talk about it today, which is kind of refreshing. And I think actually that's good for the Golden Knights too. Like, I think it's pretty clear cut where they believe their strength in the net is right now. But yeah, man, like even last night, if you're trying to think of things that are going to sink this Golden Knights team, it's still the power play in a lot of ways. Like, you just can't win in playoffs without having at least a serviceable power play. And teams that win the cup have really good power plays. Like, that's normal. And it's the first time I really heard Cassidy kind of dive in on it last night after the game, where he just said, we don't have that shooter, that finisher. I'm paraphrasing here. He straight up said it, though, basically, that we don't have the shooter.
Well, you'll have the entirety of the story on the site tomorrow. The article's already written and set to publish tomorrow morning on the site. Yes.
It's perfect. So, what that meant to me is, hey, one, Shea Theodore's not in the lineup, but he's also a defenseman. He's not your main shooter. I love that they started to go to him more often, because what the hell else are you doing? Like, nothing else is going on. Give it to him. It was working. And this was the key. Yeah, we thought we had the puck in the zone a lot. Yeah, you did, Bruce. And guess what?
The entire 2 minutes one time. Yeah.
You just, you kept it around the outside a whole bunch, and you went the wrong way. And like, does it not just relate to Eichel? Really? Like, a lot of it with the puck on his blade.
It has for a while. We've been saying
yes. So now I don't want to heap this on him completely either, because I actually think that the power play last night did have a pretty good stretch where Lankinen made some real nice saves. Okay. Like, I will give him that, absolutely on that 5-on-3. He came up huge for them.
5-on-4 though.
Not much. Right. So, but I did think though that the kill right before Petro's goal was really big for the Golden Knights.
Huge.
It just, that was massive for them. They didn't give him a chance. And Petro just kind of took over, but like, that's the type of goal. Like, you want to see bad coverage in the NHL. They let Petro walk right down Broadway to almost the hash marks. And what are you guys doing? Like, this isn't just.
Did you?
Like, and please, I don't want anybody.
Intermission?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I did. Yeah.
It was great. They had it.
Very well done. It was Callahan.
Up,
it was Callahan, wasn't it, that did it, Rick? These two need to communicate. Say, I'm taking the pass and go. And it's all spot on. But to me, that's a great example. We haven't seen many goals like that from the Golden Knights. Goals against from the Golden Knights like that, where they just let a guy walk right down the middle this year. Like, Cassidy would not dress a guy if they did that, right? Like, it just can't happen in their system. They pack the middle, work out from the sides. As I suck down my roast here, because I've been up for a little while today, but I thought there were glimpses last night, especially after that goal. And we even said it amongst our chat here for the people listening. There's like, that's it. Game's over. Golden Knights are going to take it from here because, but that to me, and I know I'm talking a lot here today, but I'm kind of amped up about it because this team's just befuddling in a great way sometimes. That's exactly the moment when Petro scored that so many times this year we've seen them just click, they win, that's it, done, right?
Yep.
And we've come to almost expect
they played that way. They played well enough to have that happen last night for sure.
Right.
It did spark them going forward. They were excellent after that goal.
Yeah. So I guess my biggest takeaway is that you're just not going to face teams in playoffs that give you that very much. Like, you're going to have to be better. You really are.
Well, and think about the other goal, Mike. Do you remember the other one?
And the first Petro goal?
Yeah, he shoots it off the goalie, off the guy's back and into the goal.
2 goals. It goes off the guy's ass and in on a rebound.
Right.
So where's your rush chance? Where's your power
That
play
game was
chances?
exactly. They
Right.
didn't have a lot of rush chance. They didn't have a lot of power play chance. And the thing that did not happen in that game that did happen in the Minnesota game at home was that when they were hemming the Wild in, the Wild would struggle to get out. And then when they get out, the Golden Knights would get a quick rush back in and get a chance off that. Nashville did not give them that. And Nashville came into that game in a weird spot because you look at that roster and it's not good. Like it's not a very good team at the moment with all the players they have out, with all the players they traded away. They came in expecting their goalie to help them in that game. And when teams do that against the Golden Knights, it's been a bit of a problem. This season, though, when you take advanced analytics and you say, okay, well, they're 27 goals above expected over the course of the last 27 games, they must be shooting it fairly well. They must be getting more dangerous chances than these expected goals numbers are saying. And that's where last night actually felt more anomaly than what we're used to. I'm hoping that this doesn't all come flooding back in once the playoffs roll around, because that's what got them knocked out of the playoffs the last 2 times. However, that's 2 years and 3 years ago now. They haven't really gotten goalied that much this year. It happened a little bit at the beginning, but am I right to stop worrying about that a little? Like, I look at the teams they're going to play. I don't expect it to happen against Calgary. I don't expect it to happen against Winnipeg. I don't expect it to happen against Edmonton. I don't expect it to happen against Nashville, even though it just kind of did. Like, I'm not that concerned about that going into this playoff, which excites me because if they can score, they can be pretty darn dangerous.
Yeah, just keep Ben Hutton in the lineup, man. Guy's hot. So
he's been good. He has been,
really
though.
has.
Like, he's offering something offensively that they're not getting. I can make the argument he should play over Hague.
Well, is offensively, Hutton creates more. He really does. He does, and he does things in motion. Like, Hague's offense is created with his feet planted, just hammering the thing.
Yep.
Do you trust Hutton more than Hague, though?
It's about equal. I would probably lean a little bit towards Hague defensively because of the length, because of just the physical body. But it's not, I don't know that it's enough that I would be for sure not willing to do that. And I think I'd get more out of White Cloud if I have that offensive weapon with him and a weapon's probably a strong term. They're the tiny bit of upside in Ben Hutton's offensive game.
Could you see in playoffs potentially flipping out Hague for Hutton on occasion if that's what it comes down to? Or do you think that Cassidy is married to having the top 6?
Yeah, I do. I think he's married to those top 6. I don't think it's going to happen.
I agree with you. Yeah, I think the same. I thought it was pretty interesting, though, that Dorofeyev wasn't even supposed to be in the lineup until Stevenson, right?
It's exactly where I wanted to go, which is a lineup option that is heading in a much different direction than we thought it was going to. And that's because Pavel's had different opportunities that we didn't think were going to happen. Now, going back to the last time we've had this conversation, I think we did it twice. Both of the times we said he's going to find his way out of the lineup. It ended up happening. I don't feel like we were way off on that. He would have been out of the lineup the game that he won the game. He was out of the lineup a little bit before. However, here we are now in last night's game where basically he becomes the first line left wing. Like, Barbashev got booted off of there for pretty much the second half of the game.
The first time
we've never really seen
Barbashev's come. That's right.
And it's Dorofeyev is the one that's pushing through. Now, the main question I have about all of it is it's not about Dorofeyev's play to this point. He's been good enough. It's real clear. He's been good enough. The question is, can he do what he was doing down the lineup? They tried that for a short period of time. Didn't really happen. Bumped him up. Now all of a sudden he's having a little bit more of an impact. And the second part of that is, if he cannot do what he's doing down the lineup, can you actually play him with Karlsson or Eichel in a playoff series?
I think you can play him with Karlsson in a playoff series. I would trust that, especially if Smith's there. I tend to really agree with what Cassidy said about Dorofeyev. I thought it was really prescient that he said that, you put him with Smith and Karlsson and he's not worried at all. He doesn't have to. Most young players, and I think this is a little bit off. I think every player is worried about making mistakes, but young players especially, you come up and you hear this all the time. I basically hope I get in the lineup and I don't screw up because you don't want to get sent down. Right. And there's a lot of players that when they get called up those first couple games, like they just don't want to negatively impact the team. But you do get a select group that get up there and they want to grab it by the throat. And I think we actually saw that from Paul Cotter this year. Like he got up and he was just like, it was honestly like, fuck this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make this team.
Yep.
And I really admire that. And Dorofeyev, I think, was in that same boat of just being like, oh, I'm young. I'm going to be cautious. I don't see that with Karlsson and Smith. And so I don't think that Dorofeyev can play in the bottom six at all. If he's not going to be in the top 10, top six, he's not playing in my book. He's just not. I think now we can project to next year all we want. I think we've seen enough from Dorofeyev, at least, especially last year in Henderson when they were actually pretty good and he had some players to give him.
You got to make a spot for him. Yep.
And especially with the cap implications, like you got to.
Yep. 100%. 100%.
You make it work.
And if he can't do it, if he can't do it after 30, 40 games, then you make the move at the deadline to fix that problem. You have to at least give him that opportunity, and he has to get the opportunity that players in the past have not gotten. Alex Tuch is the best example. They never made an opportunity for Alex Tuch to play in the top six, and it led to him never quite having the season that he's having right now.
Yep. And let's be clear about this. This is exactly what the Vegas Golden Knights need, is to start producing players like Dorofeyev in-house. This is it. Like this is your scorer.
It changes everything. Yeah. Yep.
A draft pick like this. So let's take it from that standpoint that maybe there is some hope here that now this team is going to start putting some players out, right? They do finally have some, like Brisson's. There's some players to be excited about, Korzak and Brisson and Dorofeyev. Like, I know you're shaking your head, but like, this is first year pro if we're talking about Brisson. Okay. So let's keep it there. But I mean, I think it's going to come down to this. Like, if you need somebody for the bottom six, I think Cotter goes in. If you need somebody top six, it's going to be Dorofeyev. And I think both of those guys are probably on the outside looking in when it comes time to start the Stanley Cup playoffs. If there's close to help
right now, who is number six? If you're is Stevenson the other winger? Who is six in the top six? So it's Barbashev, Eichel, Marchessault. Oh, Nick Waugh.
Smith,
You're
Karlsson,
saying
Nick Waugh.
Smith, Karlsson, Nick Waugh. All right.
Yep.
See, I because I'm not huge on Nick Waugh, the winger, I'm going to start the playoffs. I think right now I probably would lean towards considering Dorofeyev. I think that it's important what happens in these last four games, though. Like I've been focusing quite a bit on Pavel in these last couple of games because I want to know what's going on outside of the goals. I want to know, like, what are we getting along the walls? What are we getting in our own end? What are we getting on exits and these types of things? He's good along the walls, if not pretty good. Like I'm above average for sure, which surprises me because he's not a big guy. In the zone, he's all right defensively. He's okay. I don't think it's a huge problem, but I look at what we're going to be asking Karlsson and Smith to do, specifically in whether it appears it's going to be now either Calgary or Winnipeg. Yeah, I don't like the idea of Dorofeyev in zone against either of those two second lines. Like, they both have excellent second lines. I think that scares me a little bit. Exits. When the puck's on his stick, he makes the right pass. However, there are times where he's not in a position for the puck to be on his stick. I think it's better than I've thought. These next four games matter to me. I want him in the top six all of the next four games. I want Barbashev out of the top six for the next four games because I think it's a good opportunity to see what can this guy do down the lineup. Can he make more of an impact? Can he help Chandler Stevenson? Can he help Nick Waugh? Can we get Stevenson up into the top six and give him an opportunity? I think that's important. And by the way, Cody makes a good point. Before you respond to what I just said, we have not read the Jimerson spot yet. Shout out to Cody, who I apparently owe some money for reminding us to do our commercial break. Imagine someone watching on TV thinking this show hasn't gone to commercial in a while. You'd probably get slapped in the face by me. Nonetheless, we're going to do it anyway. Goalie Interference is brought to you by the Jimerson Law Firm. The Jimerson Law Firm is one of Las Vegas' preeminent law firms specializing in high-stakes business, civil, and family litigation when winning matters. Need to win 16 games in the next couple of months? Seek out the Jimerson Law Firm. The Jimerson Law Firm would love the Golden Knights to win 16 games. I would also love the Jimerson Law Firm to win 16 consecutive lawsuits. I don't know if I think they've done that. I'm sure they've done that. I don't know. Nonetheless, here we go. Do you think Ivan Barbashev has been good enough to remain in his spot in the top 6? And beyond that, should he come out and see what he can do down the lineup?
Well, I think that Barbashev, to me, isn't a guy that you're particularly looking at to say, can he only do top 6? Is this where he belongs? Like, I think he's always been defined by being a Swiss Army knife and going where he needs to be. He's not a guy that is particularly dependent upon line mates to be a quality player. Now, to see the peak offensive side of Barbashev, yes, he does need to be with the best players to get that, like most people. He's a pretty slippery guy like that. You can slot him in a lot of places. And I actually agree. I agree with your assessment that it makes a lot of sense to see him maybe in a lower role in some of these games coming up, because, you know, you've got teams out there like the Bostons and the Tampas and the Torontos of the world. They can do whatever they want from here on out. It doesn't matter. They know what they got. They're load managing right now, right? They're resting guys. And
I wish the Golden Knights were doing that too, but
yeah, and whether we wish that or not, I just do not see that happening with this team.
It's not gonna. It's not gonna.
You know, it's just not, unless they get to like the last 2 games. But even then, I think Cassidy's going to want to roll out his top lineup. So, I mean, for me, I like the idea of keeping Dorofeyev, and just simply because he's filled the net, man. And this team is going to need to score goals. And I'll be damned if they're going to play mid-20s worth of games in the Stanley Cup playoffs to try to win Stanley Cup without Dorofeyev playing, right? Like, they're going to play. Dorofeyev's going to play. Cotter's going to play. Hutton's going to play. Like, that's how it works.
Oh, for sure. Over the course of just based on attrition, you mean?
Right. So
yeah,
give him that chance on the top line. Give him that chance on the top line a little bit here, right? Like, give him a little carrot. Let him
4 games.
Like, reward him for at least a game or 2 to see, because he's already been rewarded enough. He's been, at least they put him back in. I mean, they kind of didn't have much of a choice when Stevenson came out, but I want to see how he plays against these top teams too. Straight up. Like, I want to see what he looks like against a team in LA that will check the piss out of you with their top lines. Kopitar and Danault, for me, are the best 200-foot 1-2 punch centermen in the NHL. They contained Connor McDavid last night against the Oilers like I haven't seen. Now, the Oilers still won the game. The power play won the game for the Oilers. 5-on-5, LA was rock solid against Edmonton.
Great game, by the way.
It was a sick game. Goalies were both, Copley and Skinner were both good. Draisaitl was, God, Draisaitl's good. Like, and Nugent Hopkins.
It's ridiculous.
Christ. Nugent Hopkins, like, Nugent Hopkins is like 5th in scoring or 8th in scoring in the league. But yeah, man, I want to see what Dorofeyev will do in a little bit of a long haul here. And I'm anxious to see if there's a real response from anybody else. You know, if any other line or player. And go ahead.
Did you feel like Barbashev kind of has taken a step back a bit over the course of the past maybe 2 weeks here? And in that happening, we saw he was the guy that came out. Like, we need to move something around. It wasn't Marchessault. It wasn't Smith. It wasn't try to these different options. It was Barbashev. And that kind of leads into the next question of, like, what is Barbashev's future here? Is there a future here? What is the cost of him? Is there a future there?
Yeah, that's an interesting way to go with it too. Like, it's when Cassidy makes a move like that, to me, it's never just for no reason.
No, he means it.
Ever.
He's thought about it. Yes.
Yeah, of course he has. Like, this guy's a real thinker, man. And he wasn't just tossing lines in a blender. And I'm actually going to look it up just to make sure I've got it right on Barbashev, but what he's done, like, point-wise, because I think he's been noticeable, but not doing as much offensive.
There's been a lot going on recently.
Yeah, I mean, he had a 4-game point streak for a little while, but, you know, 2 games he hasn't had a point, whatever. Yeah, I think you're really going to have to look at this team in the future of what it's going to look like on the wings. You know, you're going to have Riley Smith, Jonathan Marchessault are there. If Mark Stone can't come back, which I think it's worth asking that question. Maybe there's an opening there. We've thought for a long time that the Golden Knights really needed a depth player on the right side. Barbashev can play either side, which I think is valuable for this team. I think what it comes down to,
yes.
I think what it comes down to for me is next season, would you rather have Ivan Barbashev or Phil Kessel?
Why can't I pick what's behind door number 3?
Because you can do that, and I'll allow you to do that. But I think that's the type of if you're bringing Barbashev back, it's to play on the second or third line for me. He's not going to be a top line player if you're constructing.
No, I think he should be a third line. I think he should be a third line option if that's going to work out. I'm not sure I'm sold that he's the best third line option yet.
I'm not sold of that. I think he is an incredibly good third line player. I think that his cap hit will likely price him out of what a third line role would be for the Golden Knights, at least. If we were talking a team that wasn't just slammed on the cap, I think you'd be willing to give him that. I mean, he's at 2.25 now, and he's a 40-point player in the NHL is going to get you at least 3.5 in the NHL for a contract.
And who knows what's going to happen? He's probably going to get a bunch of playoff games here. If he stinks, then the Golden Knights aren't going to want him anyway. If he's great, then that price is just going to go up further and further.
That's right. It's kind of a double-edged sword like that, right? If he has a great playoff, oh man, he's going to be wanted by even more people. If he doesn't have a great playoff, then if he doesn't have a great, I don't think he's set to go 5. I think the peak you could see on a Barbashev deal would be, boy, I'm afraid to sound like an idiot here, because you never know with contracts. My gut says 4.5. I think realistically 4.25, but it depends on length. I think he'll get probably.
I think if he plays first line minutes on this team and they go to the Cup final, he's getting 5.
Good, but it'd be a 4-year deal. You know?
But I don't know that that's going to be the best usage of the money there, and that's mainly because I don't. Maybe this is I might be wrong here, but I feel like the Ivan Barbashev style player is easier to get for cheaper, even without the offensive upside. I think some of that offensive upside can just be placed in there in get your ass in front of the net. We've got Eichel and Marchessault here. We've got Eichel and Stone on this line. I need somebody going to the goal. I don't have any problem. We've said this for a while. They need that type of player. That being said, think back. When's the last time Ivan Barbashev has tapped a puck in front of the goal?
So
he's making skilled plays is what he's actually been making. I don't think he's been that. I don't think he's been that bulldog in front of the goal.
He's not he doesn't shoot the puck a lot. That's never been his thing. He's very choosy about it. If you could get Barbashev at 3.75 for 4 years, would you do it?
On this team, probably not.
I think that's the range you got to be looking at. And I think it still prices a little bit higher than what they can do.
Unless I don't have Mark Stone. If I don't have Mark Stone's $9.5 million and I know that's going away, okay, I've seen how he fits. I feel like he fits well enough. I'm good there. I think that's one thing that can get overlooked or overrated a little bit is that when you get good players, they tend to find their way and find their fit. And I think that you can find that type of player. I just think with 9.5 in Stone, with 10 for Eichel, with 8.8, with the 5s below them with the misfits, paying $4 million for a guy you really don't want in your top 6. I'd rather go find the next Ivan Barbashev, who could be Paul Cotter.
Well, and that's what I was
there's better options, right?
I would, if it came down to it, I would also rather have Dorofeyev and Cotter than Barbashev, just for the growth of this team. And you have to allow that to happen in your cap.
Right. Correct.
So I think what we've effectively come to the conclusion of is we don't think we're going to see Ivan Barbashev back with the Vegas Golden Knights next year. And that's
I wouldn't say that. We don't think he probably should be back. I do think there is a high probability that he is back on the contract you said, $4.5 million.
Maybe. I'm really
curious. They don't care about the cap. They don't care.
I know that.
They make it push the cap and just fill in guys below it and then deal with the LTIR space when it happens. I'll stand by. I still don't think it's a good strategy unless you know you have that player coming back. And I don't know what's going to happen with Mark Stone. How about the other two? I think Quick, it's pretty clear Quick's got to go, right? That's a no-brainer.
Quick was a rental, pure as could be. Yeah.
Quick should have never been the rental in the first place. It should have never happened. It's a bad
I
trade.
agree.
I
There's
don't
many other
understand why anyone
choices.
thinks it's good. Nonetheless,
Yeah.
by the way, I also I found this quite funny yesterday because Quick played the game for the Golden Knights on ESPN, and then the very next game was Quick's old team, the Kings, and they had Copley in there. They're not even playing Korpisalo. In both games, they described how terrific of a trade it was to get Jonathan Quick out of LA. Like, I just don't get it. Like, what are we watching?
Because you got a bunch of old hockey guys that think it's 2012 and they don't know goaltending. But this is exactly what I've been describing for weeks.
I know, but the broadcast
is the personification of what I've been describing.
I know, but the broadcast is watching the Kings and saying, look how much better the Kings are when they don't have that guy. And they're like, this is a no-brainer. And that made perfect sense.
Hold on.
And then you get to the Golden Knights game.
I took this the wrong way. Okay, so with the Kings, they were saying you had to make the deal. Absolutely, they were saying that.
Correct.
And then flip it back. Okay, because I didn't listen to intermissions intently. I thought maybe we had Callahan or PK saying that, yeah, Quick's going to win the cup again because he can just turn it on.
No.
So I apologize
but
there.
They did say it was a good move for the Golden Knights, and it filled the need that they had at that moment. And I just don't get it. I don't get it. Let's move on from that. Yeah. Teddy Bluger.
Let's do that. Teddy Bluger. Here we go. $2.2 million. You bring Teddy Bluger back. What do you do it?
I'm not doing it. I don't think he's been locked down enough. Now, it's important to note he's got a playoff run ahead of him here. There's a chance Teddy Bluger is a key cog to what they're doing in this postseason. I would guess he's not going to do it, but I do see a possible role. It would not shock me if we walk out of a playoff series. This guy has 80% defensive zone starts and is a 0 on the plus minus, and we will be talking a much different tune at this point. To me, right now, he's replaceable.
Yep. And I think that they've already got enough centers anyway. I think they're going to eventually circle back and realize Nick Waugh's a centerman, even if he's playing wing on the upper lines. I mean, we all have when we've seen him play. Why will
they not just accept it? I don't understand that one.
I don't know if there's an internal push there. I don't know if there's an internal push or what, man. The moment they traded me,
it's face-offs, Mike. I think they like the right-hand stick face-off, and I don't understand why it matters that much.
Yeah. I think, I mean, I know for a fact that this team thought his ceiling was a second line player, and I never agreed with that. I saw him as being a great third line player, a great third line center at the peak. That's what I thought. And a checking role with some offense that'll be able to mix in and do different things. No shame in that. Great player. And if you get him at $3 million for third line center all day long, that's fine by me because that's a premium position. But on the wing, it just doesn't work the same way for me. So in any case, I think that you're right about Bluger, how he really could make a case. Like he could get into the territory of like, if there's a crazy run and he even puts up like 10 points, but he's just taking face off after face off and just owning zones.
He's not getting 10 points. He's not getting 10 points.
Hey, I've seen crazy shit happen. And the bottom line is that he could make a case for himself to be an indispensable guy for the team. He was somebody they traded for. So I think what we're getting at here is I don't think any of the guys they traded for are really locks to keep around. I think that if I had to put between Barbashev and Bluger, if you had to bet which would be more likely, I think Barbashev carries more value because he's such a versatile player.
Yep.
It just comes down to length and dollars, and that stone factor is going to be real. And
he's an unrestricted free agent. Like, yes, you've had him here for a couple of months, but he's an unrestricted free agent. He doesn't owe you anything. And I don't think he's going to feel that way, and he's going to want to hit his unrestricted free agency. I don't love the idea of what it looks like if they sign him after July 1st.
Yep, I agree. And this is going to be a quick hit. We don't need to belabor it, but like Robert Lehner's still making $5 million, and there's a potential that is back at least against the cap next year. For them, they may have to plan for that. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be on the team. I'm not saying he's going to play, but I think that if you want to talk about unpredictable, this is your guy in a lot of ways here. And I don't think you can bank on that contract not being on the cap at least at the start of the season somehow.
Let me
Right.
speak
So
my piece on that for today. So he
do it.
makes news today. Obviously, it's the story in the Athletic, and then every other news outlet in the world decides that, oh, we should also write a story and doesn't credit the Athletic. Shout out to all other news outlets for doing that. Nonetheless,
We didn't do that at
the
Daily
story
Faceoff. We
published.
didn't go in the muck. We did not do that at Daily Faceoff. We also don't get into
Thank
personal
you.
items like that at Daily Faceoff. We
Appreciate
stay
it.
very we stay very much like between the guardrails
Okay,
as much as we
so
can. Go on.
yes, what happened is concerning for Robin Lehner's life and what happens with him. The accusation of fraud is concerning for him. It's never good when you're in a bankruptcy hearing and you have fraud coming your way. However, I do not believe this changes absolutely anything from the Golden Knights' perspective. The best thing for Robin Lehner's life moving forward is to be good at hockey again. If he's great at hockey again, he has the capability to earn millions and millions of dollars. His goal is going to be good at hockey again. The Golden Knights are going to have to make their decision of what they're going to do, and I don't think that this or anything that has to do with the bankruptcy changes absolutely any of it, unless there's something that he has done over the course of the last 2 years that materially breaches that contract that we do not know of. They have to keep that contract and figure out what they're going to do with it. I do not believe it has anything. Nothing changes in how this story today, the story that came out that we reported months ago, or anything that comes out moving forward changes that, unless he did something that breaches the contract. I have not seen anything to that point yet.
Yep.
That's my
the only thing that was kind of news today that stuck out was that his contract was used as, and I'm going to get the wrong legal verbiage, so we should give Jim Jimerson of the Jimerson Law Firm a call to make sure we get this right. But his contract was used as not collateral, not a guarantee.
Yes.
Yeah. I don't know the proper verbiage for that. Somebody in our chat is going to say that. But
the simple way to put it is a lender understood that he had $5 million coming his way. So they offered a contract knowing that, saying we can take a lien on your paycheck in the event that you do not pay us. Leverage, however you want to say it. But that's good enough. All right, let's move on from the Lehner stuff because I don't think that's all that important now.
My only point was that you may have to plan for that $5 million, crazy as it seems. So
correct.
Yep.
All right, let's bring Jason up. There's a little bit of I don't know if it's a game or something that I want to play here. Ooh. And it's basically like we did this before the season. I did like a prerequisites for the Golden Knights to win the division. And actually, I probably should go back and I wonder how many of those things actually happened. Nonetheless, they haven't won the division yet. They might. If the Golden Knights are going to win a round, this must happen. What is this?
Great goaltending.
Define that.
One stolen game, and they average a goal allowed around 2.85 per game in the series.
Okay.
Am I asking too much there, Mike?
No, I don't think so. I think that's a fair ask. This is kind of like VGK roulette on AT&T Sportsnet that was supposed to feature more than 4 people and never did. I can't listen. They're not going to go anywhere if this power play sucks. It's as simple as that for me. Like, I actually do think they could win a round with it being okay though. But you're not going to go
with
deep
it being
without
this
it.
bad. You mean? All right. So give me like to make the Western Conference Final. Is it 25%, 20, 15?
Just 20. They got to be like
5.
It's got to be it's got to be serviceable, right? For me,
that concerns you.
Yeah, it does because it dries up in the postseason too. A lot of times, and this is anecdotal. I wish I had stats in front of me. I could be wrong like that, but it's dried up for this goddamn team.
100%. So, you don't need stats.
Right.
It dried up for this goddamn team. Yes.
Right. So I don't think that's an unfair thing to say. I mean, they've been at 20 this year, but it's been so hit or miss, So let's say this in playoffs, it's got to be 20. They've got to at least hold serve with what they have on the power play for now. They can't go with extended droughts. I don't think it has to get drastically better, but they can't click at 15, 10, 15 and think it's going to do anything for them. At least the penalty kill has been pretty good most of the
Are you
of the
afraid
year.
of a drought like we've seen last year and in the playoffs, the last time they were in the playoffs?
Oh yeah, because it's predictable. Scary. Yeah, and here's the thing. This is one of my magic numbers that I had. I actually wrote an article when I first signed up with Daily Faceoff about this, about how, we used to always talk in locker rooms about how you wanted your special teams to add up to be over 100. So you take your penalty kill number. Let's say it's like Golden Knights right now are at 76.9. And then you'd add your power play to it. That's 20.4 right now. So, you're looking at 97, a little bit more and change. Used to always try to be above 100. That was the goal. And I think that's really bumped to be more like 105 these days. So maybe we toss the old 100 threshold back at the Golden Knights. How about that? If they can get it above 100 with the combined, I think that looks a lot better for them.
So I've got some numbers for you. Since the All-Star break, the Golden Knights are 19-4-4. They've outscored their opponents 99-75. They're doing that with a 105 PDO. For those of you who understand PDO, that's not good for the future. But I'm not going to say that loudly. Nonetheless, in that time, they're operating at 14.3% on the power play, and their penalty kill is killing at, where is that number?
72.6,
17 divided by 62.
Penalty kills at 72.6%.
Yeah, 72.6.
So you combine those suckers and
plus 15, it's bad. You're at 90.
82.
You're at 90.
Yeah, not even. And you want to compare that to Edmonton? Edmonton's clicking at a solid 114.
Yeah,
and I understand they're on a world record-setting pace for their power play. But look at some of the front runners. Look at those top five. The top five teams, when you look at power play, penalty kill, all that, man, they are all well above. All of them.
Yep.
Even Toronto.
Well, LA's got an elite power play too. LA's power play is fantastic. So then, all right. Yep. So I'll give mine, and mine is I need a point per game out of Eichel. I don't think this team makes the second round with that. Or, well, they can win one. They can win one round because it's possible they play some crap in the first round.
So 7 secondary assists is enough for you?
Yeah, I think so, because I think they're going to need goals. And I think that when you look at the history of what this team has done in the playoffs, how many times have we looked back and said Mark Stone's pointless for 6 games? Chandler Stevenson's pointless for 5 or 6 games. William Karlsson doesn't have a point in the last 4. Like, just being out there, whether that's a power play goal, a secondary assist, he's setting up a goal, or whatever. I think they need points out of that line. When he's on the ice, they have to get impact. They can't have this, our top guys wash out your top guys. I don't think that's going to work, because I just don't believe that the bottom 6, as it's currently constructed with Chandler Stevenson playing the way that he's playing, and is that going to turn? I don't know. I don't think they're going to be able to score enough without getting that type of impact from that particular one player. I think he has to be very good in the postseason, and I think he can. We know he's got it in him. I'm interested. It's super intriguing to see what he's going to be. Let's flip it to the other side. We'll let Mike go first this time. Something that can't happen.
Spin the wheel. Here we go, right? VGK roulette.
So, like, if this happens, they lose. If this happens, they lose in the first round. I mean, it's kind of the same question.
Something that can't happen. You want the simplest one for me? A goalie can't get hurt.
I was going to say a goalie rotation. A goalie rotation.
I don't care who the first guy is. If a goalie gets hurt, it's all over. I don't care who the guy starts it is. This is just I think that's the case, because I think right now you're looking at Brossoit starting, and if he goes down, you're in trouble. Thompson, who is potentially maybe hitting the ice, there's just no way he starts. So this is what I mean. I don't see LB taking the net And then 3 weeks later, them saying, you've done an okay job. We're going to go back to Thompson, who hasn't played basically since the All-Star game. So my thought process in that is that it's going to be too late by the time if LB were to get hurt anyway. You know what I mean? That's kind of what I mean. So I don't think I'm making that very clear. I'm just going to stick with it. A goalie can't get hurt.
I think it's fine. I look at it and I say this, though, and I'll counter you with this, is that I think Jonathan Quick can lose them games. I don't think the other ones are likely to lose them as many games. Like, I think it's more going to be the skaters in front of them. So to me, as long as they have a healthy one in there, I think it's important to note you can't have a goalie get hurt and then put in a hurt one. So if Brossoit gets hurt, we can't play him hurt. If Brossoit gets hurt and Thompson's hurt, we can't play him hurt. We got to play the healthy one. Like, they have to do that. But to me, it's going to be the skaters in front of them. Like, I think they're going to give up dangerous chances. They're going to give up goals. They don't give up dangerous chances. They won't give up goals.
So I
don't really care about the goalie as much.
Can I play off Mike's here? Instead of a goaltender getting hurt, how about the fact that they get into a goalie rotation where they never really figure out who is their starter? So if you're going game one, LB stinks, then you go to Quick, and before you know it, if you lose game two, you're sunk. And who do you go back to game three? So again, I know it's unlikely because I would assume at home they win one of two, but I don't like the idea of being unsure of what their starting goaltender is, after game one or two.
I would be surprised to see any form of rotation like that, just given Cassidy's his history with riding one guy and knowing that Sean Burke is still in the room, who's very much this is our guy, we're going with him type of guy, right?
So I think tradition is it Brossoit?
To me, it sure feels like him when he started 3 games in a row there after Quick play was not good against Edmonton. To me, that was writing on the wall, especially considering how close you are now. Like they know who's going to be the guy, and I think it's LB.
So does Quick go tomorrow still?
No.
Tomorrow? No, I think you're playing Brossoit tomorrow, unless he's hurt again.
Well, think about it. Last week, all three of us agreed that Quick was likely to take this game. So things have changed in just 7 days.
They have, because Brossoit played 3 games in a row, which I didn't foresee. I thought you might see him play 2 games and Quick play 1, 2, 1. I thought that seemed likely.
We also for some reason we care about goalie win stats. I don't, but Brossoit has not lost in the regulation. Hasn't happened.
Yep. He's played more hockey. He's played more hockey this year than people realize. He played almost 30 games in the American League.
So he lost games in the regulation there.
I don't give a shit. I'm just saying that he has played a lot of games, because people try to spin this like, well, this guy he's only played 8 games or 10 games in the NHL this year. Well, look at Alex Lyon with the Florida Panthers right now. Right? I mean, I saw Al play in whenever that wedding was in April or whatever, or October. I mean, when I rolled through Charlotte and got to see my old teammate who was my goalie partner for my last game ever, Al Lyon, and now he's crushing it and getting his team into playoffs. The point is, it's better to be playing games like Brossoit was in some capacity. So I don't think there's any worry about that. I think it's just something I wanted to point out.
All right, I will throw out the next thing that I think cannot happen, and that's I don't think they can give up more expected goals than they score expected goals. Like, I don't believe that this trend can continue. I think they have to turn the trend. I think it's possible and likely that they do turn the trend. I know that they can play better than they've played. I just really do not think what they've done over the past 2 months, despite the 19-4-4 record, it's been terrific. Don't get me wrong. There's been some great things that they've been doing. They have to get more out of their chances. They have to create more chances than the other team, because I just don't think they're going to be at a goaltender advantage in most series. I just don't.
Don't you sense that same feeling from Bruce Cassidy?
I do. I think he believes they must play better. I absolutely think he thinks they have to play better. And there was one particular comment that really struck me. It was after the second Edmonton game, and he said, if we play like that, we are out.
Yep.
They've played like that a lot.
Yep. I'm telling you, that guy's got the finger on the pulse, man. I think he's a little nervous because he knows this team has overachieved compared to their output on the ice. And again, it's that vibe factor. And hey, it's better to have a team that's got a great vibe that somehow grinds out wins than a team that's not in the playoffs like Calgary, that on paper, Calgary should be in the playoffs, man. But whatever, their chemistry's been off this year. They don't like their coach, or they're not happy. They're not having fun, whatever it may be. I also realized
there now.
Markstrom isn't a great skater, which
that was a big game.
But Mike, you kind of nailed it. I mean, I think if you asked around the locker room and you asked them, are they in a funk or were they in a funk, they'd all say no. But if you ask Cassidy, he said it the other day.
Yep. Well, players are kind of blind to it. When you're winning games, you're winning games. You always want to think you're better. Hey, by the way, shout out to Jake Lecision tonight, who scored the OT winner for the Hartford Wolfpack. It's nice to see he scored a goal this season. That sounds so snarky.
How about Cody Glass's goal last night?
I think that was on purpose. I think he saw the backboard. I understand that he had a player behind it, but he was shooting for. He sees McNabb's big size 14 sitting there at a 45-degree angle. He knows he's got that skate blade or the stick behind it. Yep, I think so, man. That's pretty sweet.
I was saying that you wrote that article saying they're in a pre-postseason funk, and people got mad at you for saying that and calling it that, even though it was literally a direct quote.
It was word for word for what Cassidy had said after that Edmonton game.
Literally said it. All right, let's go to story time with Mike. What do you got for tonight? You got to have something here.
Oh, geez.
Playoff related. I don't know. Late season. I don't know. What do you got?
Oh, talk amongst yourself for just a little bit until I get something wound up, because I'm usually ready, and I thought we'd be going for a little bit more. So I want you to discuss.
Have you ever been on a team where you guys, like Calgary, you were expected to make the playoffs? You're going down the stretch. It's unlikely you're going to make it, and you know that things are changing. So the coach is probably fired. Maybe some of your friends are gone. Anything like that?
That happened to me the one year in Portland, Maine. We thought we'd saved the coach's job by getting into the playoffs, and he ended up getting canned anyway, which was kind of weird. That was Arizona, though, and back then, I don't know if you guys saw what came out today with Arizona and the rink that they're trying to build and everything. They put out a press release that looked like it was like Frank Saravalli, my coworker, said, "Is this like from the Trump team?" It was like completely inflammatory. And that's, hey, everybody out there, it's not a political statement. It literally read like a Trump press release. Okay, this isn't like downplaying or up. It read like it. That's what it did. But no, Arizona was just weird back then. But I can, this reminds me, I got a great story from Arizona, actually. This is good. It involves Keith Yandel. So we're playing at the end of practice. It was a variation of Juice Boy or Mustache Boy, where the last person remaining ends up getting juice for everybody, which is juice's code word for Gatorade, right? You pour out a bunch of cups of Gatorade, you walk around the room, you give it to everybody. Not everybody drinks it. It's just like one of those things, you're making somebody do some busy work. And it's just funny because, hey, Juice Boy, or the variation is the loser has to grow a mustache for like 2 weeks or something, and you're Mustache Boy. And so like they're fun and harmless things. Well, we go to do it, and I'm not sure how this happened, but Yandel wanted to put a clause into the game where if the goalie's allowed what I believe to be 5 in a row, we had to wear a pair of Skechers Shape-Ups shoes on the road on the eastern swing throughout New York City, like the whole metro New York City area. And so I go in, like Louis Domingue and I think were the goalie. No, maybe it wasn't Domingue. Maybe it was me and Mike. I can't even remember who the other guy was with me. But I go in there at the end of practice to take these breakaways. And I'm typically pretty good at breakaways, but I was pretty flustered over this. And I allowed 4 straight. And all of a sudden, Yandel just starts going crazy. And I'm like, what the fuck's going on here? Like, I still got one more chance at redemption. And no, it was 4. It was 4 goals. I was like, no, man, we agreed to 5. Like, it was a big mess because I was adamant that it was 5 goals were going to result in the Skechers Shape-Up shoes. And he was adamant that it was going to be 4 goals. And we kind of reached a stalemate where he was still going to buy them, and he never got them. And I got sent down like right as soon as we got to New York. So I didn't get the chance to wear the Skechers shape ups anyway. But I was sweating on that one, and I was pretty angry because I felt that the deal was we needed it in writing. Let me just say that. There was another good Yandle story.
One?
No, the game was over after 4. I was like, this is wrong, man. Like, give me the fifth shot.
They just cut it. I see. They just
that was it. And yeah, and he's smashing a stick on the ice and howling, and I was like, man, this is not good. And another Yandle story where the only time I ever played golf in Arizona, my foursome, who was it with? I was with Michael Stone was definitely in my foursome, and I've never seen somebody hit a golf ball further in my life than Mike Stone, who plays for the Calgary Flames, defenseman, and he can shoot a puck about 107, and he can hit a golf ball about 407. Just moon balls. That's a little overboard, but so we're playing, and I'm a bad golfer. Like back then I probably shot, I'd be lucky to shoot about 90 most days. Okay. Maybe a little higher. So, I mean, I guess I was serviceable at best. I never broke 80 in my life, put it that way. A great day for me would be like a mid upper 80s. And so we're out there swinging away, and we get up to the 17th green, and I'm a call up at the time. I've only been there for a couple of weeks, but like Yandle's already taken a liking to me. Joey Vitale kind of got me in, and, we had drinks after game in the hotel room once, and he started to like my personality, which I appreciated because his very dry sense of humor was right up my alley. But we get up to the 17th, and he sees me come up, and he just starts screaming. And he's behind the green, and it's like a stadium seating. There's like 8 guys behind the green. They were waiting. And it was the 17th. It wasn't the 18th. It was the 17th. It was a par 3. There's no fucking way you hit this green, Kenzoil. And for some reason, he started calling me Kenzoil. I can't remember why that was, because I think he found out I liked racing. So he somehow combined Kenny from McKenna into Pennzoil and Kenny and became Kenzoil. No way on earth you hit this green, Kenzoil. $100 you don't hit this green. No chance. And like, I hadn't hit a green all day. And I knew I was pooped. Like I thought for sure I was going to skull this thing. There was a lake between the fucking tee box and the green, 7-iron. Grab that sucker and put it right on the dance floor. And it was a shot of the day for me. I mean, it was probably like 20 feet from the pin, but it was right in the middle of the green. And, and it wasn't a flub. Like, it was legit good flight path. It looked like a golf shot. He gets up and just starts screaming. He's running laps around the green. Whoa! Like, he's so amped about it. I'll never forget that. That was probably one of the most fun moments I've ever had on a golf course. And it was just because
Yandle's awesome, right? Yandle's like one of the best, right?
Yeah. He's unbelievable. Like, this will be my last story. I'll make it quick because we're getting past time. But so we're on the road, and it was actually the same road trip before I'd been sent home, and we're in New Jersey, and the guys all wanted to go to this Italian restaurant. It's always steak or Italian, which I hate, but I'm a call up, so I'm just going to go with the guys. And we're all, this is before Uber, so we did have car service to take the team, or cab at least, right? And we show up at this Italian place. It's closed, whether it was Monday or Tuesday night, whatever, it's closed.
Hate that.
And this is back when, like, I think Yelp is for posers. I don't like Yelp. I think Yelp is a terrible indicator of a good restaurant. This was when Urban Spoon used to exist. And I thought Urban Spoon was really good. It was really good because it was people who were kind of dedicated to food that liked it a lot. So I get out my phone. I'm like, and I start whipping through, right? And I found this restaurant that was probably like 5 miles away. And there's a group of like 8 or 10 of us. It was a decent sized group. And I finally piped up. I'm like, guys, like, you need to just trust me on this. Like, please, I'm telling you, you have to trust me on this. I've got a place for us. And just please believe me. I think this is going to be good. I can't guarantee it, but I really think this is a great option. Cause like, it was urban spooned way up. It was live fire. It was like this nice old building, like cocktails, everything. So we show up at the place, and guess what? The place is fucking awesome. Like, it legit. And kind of like off the beaten path. It wasn't a chain or anything. It was local. So Urban Spoon just crushed it for me. And I was pumped because I'd only been there for 2 weeks, right? And I hadn't even like spent a lot of time there. So there's no way they should have trusted me, and they did. But it was largely because my teammate I had known previously, Vitaly, was like, you should probably listen to him. So they did. We walk in there and the food's, we haven't even gotten to the food yet. We sit down and the waitress comes over and she goes to take some drinks and she's got a helper with her. And she walks away and she's probably like middle-aged, seemed like a very nice lady, you know, probably a lifer waitress. You know, some of those people like I'm sure we have people that, you know, listening right now, man, you can make good coin as a server, waitress, waiter at good restaurants.
It's literally my wife, Mike.
Yeah. And dude, like if you're good at it, you work at good restaurants, it's a good life. So that's kind of what I thought this gal was. And she takes the orders and walks away. And then she starts like berating her helper and she's mad at her. And you could only kind of hear it. And Yandel looks back and he looks at the rest of us and he just goes, I go, man, she don't seem like a nice lady. And he goes, she's a booze cannon. She's an absolute drunk. That's what I go, we just met her. He goes, I can tell. Like he made a snap judgment on this gal immediately. And who knows if it's true or not. But he goes, she's a booze cannon. And
he was probably right. I believe him.
It's such a hockey.
What was the name of that restaurant? I want to know what the name of that restaurant was and where were we?
You know, I really should go back and try to look it up. I don't even know if I could find it. Like that's how often
we don't know what city it was.
So it was in New Jersey, I want to say, and this would have been 2015. So if I go back,
still be there.
If you're in a car service, you're not going too far.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a cab. So this would have been February 2015.
Do you have like a list of all your restaurants?
No, but I'm going to look through my pictures that are all in Google Photos.
All right. So while you do that, we're gonna make a pick. We're gonna decide: are the Golden Knights gonna win the division? Yes or no? Jason, go ahead while he's looking at pictures.
Yes.
Pictures.
What do you think?
I am also going to say yes. I think the Golden Knights are going to go 2-1-1. I believe that will be 1 point clear of where they need to be with Edmonton. 2-1-1. I think that will land them at 109, right? And that will be 1 point clear of Edmonton's 108.
That'd be a problem.
That's right. All I know is 2-1-1. I do believe that they need at least 4 points to get there, possibly 5. I think they're going to get at least the 4. So yes, I think they win the division.
I think they have enough of a lead that they'll win. I mean, they're 3 points up. So, you know, even if Edmonton gets 5 or 6 points, Vegas only needs a win, you know. So I think they take it.
Yeah.
Or 2,
because they're going to lose. They lose the tiebreaker on Edmonton. Edmonton currently tied in the end of 1 at Anaheim, so not exactly their best game today. Thanks again to the Jimerson Law Firm, as always, for sponsoring every episode of Goalie Interference. We will be back. I believe we're back Wednesday. I don't think they play next Wednesday. Let's double check that. Yes, we will be back next Wednesday in between the 2 Seattle games. 1 game left in the season before we do it, and then we'll be back again in the middle of the first round. That should be fun, depending on where I am. Please don't make it Winnipeg. I just don't want to go to Winnipeg. It has nothing to do with the matchup. I think the Golden Knights are going to smoke Winnipeg. I think they'll beat Calgary. I think they'll beat Seattle. I think they'll beat Nashville. Can I just not go to Winnipeg? I've been there. I don't really like Winnipeg. It's far. It's hard to get to. Can we just go somewhere else than Winnipeg? Thank you.
You're going to go to the Peg? You're going to make the trip?
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Oh yeah, we're going. We're about to unveil a nice new travel sponsor for me that's going to be great. And I really hope that people take advantage of the service that I'm about to offer to everyone and a special discount. But I'm not ready to tell you what it is yet because we have not signed the papers. But that looks very promising. Thanks again to people that we did sign the papers with, and that's the Jimerson Law Firm. They are the best. We love the Jimerson Law Firm. We'll be back next week. Good night, everybody. See ya.